Hello and welcome to the Everyday Eurasia podcast, inspiring faith for every day. Each day we are on a journey with Jesus in our churches, our homes, our workplaces, and in so many different places around the world. Isn't it beautiful that no matter where we are, we can walk with Him every single day? Jesus is the one who connects us all and stands at the very center of our lives, day after day. Through this podcast, you'll hear voices from across the region, sharing devotionals that reminds us of God's presence in our everyday moments. This week we'll be journeying together with Chad Gibbons. Chad serves as the Nazarene Discipleship International Coordinator for the Eurasia Region. As a missionary, he lives and serves alongside his wife Crystal from the regional office in Büsingen, Germany. We will take a look together at the 5 core principles of NDI.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Chad Gibbons. I'm the Discipleship Coordinator here on the Eurasia Region, and I am excited to be with you all this week on the Everyday Eurasia podcast, where we are going to be looking at the 5 core principles of NDI. Now, NDI stands for Nazarene Discipleship International, and it is the discipleship arm of the Church of the Nazarene. This is the reason the Church of the Nazarene exists. We exist to make Christ-like disciples in the nations. We are supposed to be making disciples. If we're not making disciples as a church, then we ought to just close our doors and stop existing, because we've lost the whole point of it, which is ironic to me why so many people don't know what NDI is. Now, NDI is just a name, just an acronym, Nazarene Discipleship International. But the importance of discipleship, I think we often forget. Sometimes they think, well, yeah, we need to teach our kids Sunday school lessons. Well, that's true. But that's not all discipleship is. That's not all NDI is. We all need to be growing more like Christ. This is God's goal for us. He didn't just save us so we could go to heaven one day. We could be adopted into God's family, that we could be more like Christ. Now, we have 5 core principles here in our denomination about, you could say, how we go about this. And the first one I want to talk about today is intentional mentoring and equipping. 2 Timothy chapter 2 says, it is Paul writing to his disciple Timothy, who he installed in Ephesus as pastor there. He said, "You then, Timothy, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust that to reliable people who will also be qualified to teach others." Paul has this vision of ministry where he is passing along what he has received to Timothy. And that passing along also includes Timothy passing it along to others who are qualified to pass it along to others. This generational ministry, this equipping of others to continue the work. I remember when I first became a pastor, I had a mentor friend myself. I had several mentors in my life, great godly men and women that have poured into my life. But I remember this one in particular. I had started to be a pastor, and I was tiring myself out with trying to fix all the things that I saw wrong in the church. And he said, "Chad, ministry is not a sprint, it's a marathon." Maybe you've heard advice like that. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It means don't tire yourself out. Ministry is a lifelong calling. And you can tire yourself out very easily, wasting all of your energy on immediate things, but you need to look at the big picture. Now, the more I've been in ministry, I think my mentor, these are very wise words, and the words I needed to hear at the time, but I don't know if they're quite accurate. When I read this verse from Paul, and when I look at the scriptures, I realize ministry, yes, it's not a sprint, but it's also not a marathon. Those are both races where one person is running. Following Christ it's not a sprint, it's not a marathon, it's a relay race. I think that's a much better analogy. In a relay race, you've got a group of people that are working together. I used to run the relay race back in school. and they'd always stick me at the very end. I was always the last person on the team. And the important thing in the relay race is not the runners. I mean, if a runner went and crossed the finish line and they didn't have the baton in their hand, then it wouldn't matter if they crossed the finish line. The important thing in the relay race is that baton. It's that thing that gets carried from one person to the next. Now, Paul says we have received a baton. We have received the teachings of Christ, and we need to hand that on. We need to hand the gospel message, let it transform us, and pass it along to others. I remember sitting at the end on that track field, and the relay race would start, and the gun would go off, and the runners would race, and I would be so nervous watching my teammates go, and they would hand off the baton to the first person, and the handoff was very important. You had to start running before you even received the baton. You had to start running, and you'd have to put your hand back and hope that the person behind you is doing everything that they were supposed to do, and they're being in the very place that they're supposed to be so that they can hand that baton in your hand. And when you feel that baton in your hand, then you get a surge of energy, and you pull it forward, and you run as fast as you can your leg of the race. Because the important thing is not me crossing the finish line, but getting that baton across the finish line. Paul says, our life with Christ is the relay race. And the important thing is not us. It's that baton. It's the message of Christ. And what's the important thing? The important thing is passing it along to others. If you receive the baton and then you just sit and do your own thing and say, oh, this is great. I've received the wonderful news of Jesus Christ. I think I'll sit on the sidelines now. The race ends. We need to pass it on. If you hand the baton and then you just run your own race and do your own thing, that you're missing the whole point of the relay race. It needs to be handed on. Friends, we've been given the baton. This race has started with Christ. He handed it to his apostles, who have been handing it on to others and handing it on to others over and over again for thousands of years. And now here we are. We have the baton in our hand. What are we doing with it? Who are we passing it along to? Discipleship is not just for us. It's for Christ, and it's for the whole world that Christ so desperately loves.
Thank you for listening to the Everyday Eurasia podcast, inspiring faith for every day. For more everyday stories, subscribe on this podcast channel, follow our socials, Facebook and Instagram, or our newsletter snapshots. For our newsletter and further information about the Eurasia region, visit our website eurasiaregion.org.